Hello and welcome to Stories, the True and the Fictional, the variety show that revolves around one central theme: stories and the people that tell them. If you haven't done so already, hit subscribe and ring that notification bell. And hey, if you're feeling up for it, leave a comment down below, let us know you subscribed, and we will give you a shout out.
You know what, Ryan, you take the intro this time.
Oh, wow. Hello and welcome to Story Chat.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Thank you for joining us. This is our podcast where we like to have a chat with people and get to know the stories behind the authors. And today we have Jim Riley. Welcome aboard.
Thank you. Glad to be here, and hope we have a great conversation.
I think we will. So why don't we start by you just giving us a bit of background on yourself. Just tell us who is Jim Riley, and then we'll crack into our icebreaker questions.
I'm retired, living in South Louisiana, and enjoy writing books.
Excellent. No, that's good. That's why we've got you here, because you like writing and we like reading, and Jamie likes writing as well. So we want to help get authors out there and get a bit more awareness to people's books, because we need a lot more people reading, if you'd agree.
Awesome.
Definitely. All right, Jamie, do you want to take the first icebreaker question?
Are you sure you want me to take the first one? Because you like the third one, remember?
I want to mix things up. So, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, Jim, if you could get rid of one thing in the world, what would it be?
Well, my first thoughts are anchovies and mosquitoes. But after I eliminate those, I would get rid of partisan politics.
Yep.
I believe our leaders could do a whole lot better to serve the people of the countries instead of their parties.
Yep.
You
and Jamie will get along very well there. He's quite passionate about that as well. So, no, I definitely can't argue. I don't like anchovies. I don't like mosquitoes. And I don't like politicians. So you've won me over.
Oh, great. We're starting off on a good foot.
Exactly. Okay. Well, as you mentioned, Jim, you are retired, but what's something on your bucket list that you'd like to do before you leave this earth?
I would love to play golf with my sons again. I have bad knees. I need to get them replaced, and I want to show them the old man can still beat them on a golf course.
Nice. Well, so that's clearly where all the sales from your books are going to get you some new knees. Is that right?
Yes, indeed.
Wonderful.
Oh, love it.
Oh, all right. Now, this is the question that Ryan will judge you harshly on.
Okay.
He says there's no wrong answer, but
there's wrong answers. There's wrong answers. Trust me.
In your opinion, what is the greatest sitcom ever made?
All in the Family. They came along. I'm a little older than you guys, and they came along here when we needed an Archie Bunker. Mm-hmm. Things were getting too politically correct, and Archie showed us that we can be ourselves.
Yeah. Well, I have heard of All in the Family. I've never watched it, but I mean, that's I just like, it's a little bit before my time.
Yes, you guys are too young for that.
But no, anyway, look, that description takes me right back, so I'd be happy to watch it. So no judgment on that one. All right, Jim, have you thought much about a zombie apocalypse plan?
I would go to the Atchafalaya Basin. It's a swamp bigger than Rhode Island, one of our smaller states. And I would take my dog and my wife and some books, probably in that order, and just stay there and live off the land.
You know what? That's very interesting, Jim. You're our second guest that has mentioned who he would take and mentioned his dog before his wife.
Sometimes they're more loyal.
We had another guest, Matthew Holmes, who's an Australian filmmaker, and he said the exact same thing. He said, I grabbed my dog, then I grabbed my wife. So it must be a popular choice.
I understand that. I'm with him.
Well, I actually remember a time I was driving down one of our freeways, and we drove past a car, and there was a man driving, a dog in the front passenger seat, and his wife in the back seat.
Well, he has his priorities in order.
I love it.
Probably off for the zombie apocalypse.
Oh, I love it.
All right, our final icebreaker question is, Mr. Elon Musk calls you up and offers you to test drive his new electric time machine. what do you do? Where do you go?
I would accept the offer. I would go back to my childhood on Cane River with a cane pole and a can of worms and just enjoy life. It was the best time I ever had. Very simple, very relaxing out in the country, and doesn't get much more peaceful than that.
That's it. I guarantee if you could do that, you'd probably get a few more books under your belt out there.
There you go.
Yep, exactly. Can't complain at all. No, that's very good. Everyone comes up and says, oh, like we want to go back to, Wild West, or we want to go forward to the future and stuff. But sometimes it's just good to revisit the happy times, especially in the current world we live in.
Absolutely. The world is a turmoil and full of chaos, and that was serenity and peace, and wasn't very complicated. If you had a worm, you could fish.
Exactly. And my dad lives out in a place similar sounding to that. He lives in a place called Tea Gardens, which is up on the northern coast of New South Wales. And that's what he lives across the road from the lake. And when I go and visit him, we get the fishing poles out, we go grab our fold out chairs and just sit there and just talk, have a couple of drinks and hopefully catch some fish.
Enjoy those moments while you can. They won't be here forever.
100%. Like every time I feel like, I live right in the heart of Sydney, so all hustle and bustle. And, when things get a bit too much, I always just jump in the car, drive for a couple of hours, and I can, be refreshed for the next 6 months. You know what I mean?
Gives you a whole new perspective on life, doesn't it?
Exactly. All right. No worries. Well, now we're going to I'm going to let Jamie take over for a bit. We're going to get into the reason we've got you on the podcast, which is to talk about your writing career.
Okay.
So yeah, Jamie, do you want to take the first questions?
So yeah, the first thing that struck me was 50 books in 4 years. Is that correct?
Yeah, it is. I was actually in a place where it was not conducive to writing. I was in prison. And I know neither one of you guys have ever been in prison, but it's not the most pleasant place to be. 24/7, there's screaming, cursing, killings, and basically mayhem. Had no control over when I got up, when I went to bed, when I had my meds, when I got to eat, when I got to watch TV. Basically, somebody else controlled my life. But I made the decision I wanted to make the most of it. I'm not proud of going to prison, but I'm proud of what I did when I went there. And we didn't have a computer. We didn't have even a typewriter. So I used pens and yellow pads and wrote over 50 novels while I was there.
Wow. Your hand must have gotten very tired.
Well, I found out that ink pens do run dry.
Wow.
I went through a bunch of them.
Well, we live in an amazing world where we can just, I'll just sit here and type and write, and wow, that is, I think that's the true definition of a dedicated author.
Absolutely. And there was no Google to go research everything. I had to go to the prison library and try to find, and that was not an easy task in itself. And then with all the interruptions, it was very difficult, but I'm proud that I did it. And I hope that other people will look at it as an inspiration that when they get obstacles in their way, overcome them. It may be health, it may be family, job, financial, whatever. We can overcome our obstacles and make the best of them and turn them into assets.
Totally agree. I mean, you could have just sat back and just did your time and just laid in your bunk, but you chose to do something worthwhile and meaningful. So
had a lot of people that watched TV, slept, played cards, got into mischief, as you might imagine, in prison.
Yep.
And I wanted to spend my time productively, and I'm glad I did. I already have over 30 of the books published. Wow. And have a contract for the rest of them with the same publisher. And it just turned in from prison to published journey.
Well, that's it. It's kind of set you up for a career after coming
Oh,
out.
Absolutely. And again, yeah, we all have to have a feeling of self-worth, I think. And in prison, there's not much of that.
Nice.
So that gave me something to make me feel good about myself.
Excellent.
So
Wow.
were you a writer before you went in, or was when you went in you decided to become a writer?
I had written one book and it was awful. I was embarrassed. It got published. I'm not sure how. And since then, I've taken it off the market and I've rewritten it, re-edited it, and it will soon be published again under a different title. And it's going to be 10 times better than it was before. But to say I was a writer might be a bit of a misnomer. I was a hack.
You got to start somewhere. You got to start somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad I did. You know, it's I feel like every book I write or rewrite, I get a little bit better at it. And it's like anything else we do. The more we do it, the closer we get to being good at it. I'm not good yet, but I'm working toward it.
No, that's good. And you know, as with everything, you know, and they say practice makes perfect, and I'm sure that's the same for authors.
Yes.
You know, the more you write, the better you're going to get.
Yes. And some of the things that I didn't recognize were bad habits. Now I do. And I can eliminate those from my writing. I still fight the urge to be a passive writer and instead of an active writer. And it's but I'm overcoming it. And you know, sooner or later, I'll get good at this stuff.
Oh, I'm sure you're quite good at it already, Jim. I mean, 50 books, come on, under your belt.
Well, actually, the contract was for 59, and we added one more, so it turned out to be a 60-book contract.
Oh, there you go.
When they first offered it, I thought it was a joke. You know, nobody gets a 60-book contract, especially someone with my abilities. And I thought it was a joke, and it turned out to be the best thing that's ever happened to me.
Well, there you go.
Next to my marriage, of course, and the birth of my kids.
You forgot your dog in there. Remember, you move your dog to the.
Well, he's always at the top.
There you go. There you go.
he knows he's number one.
Oh, that's the way. That's the way it's got to be. So 50 books in 4 years while you're in prison. Did you ever find it hard? I mean, did you ever find it hard to find material? Did you ever get writer's block? Did you ever have any hiccups in terms of, you know, I've written so much, I just don't know where to go now?
Not really. The way I write, I'm a pantser. I don't outline my stories. I have a vague idea of a opening scene, and I start with that, and then I kind of let the characters take it from there. And most of the time, I don't know the ending before I get there. And it's a surprise to me as it is to everybody else. And I kind of like it like that. You know, that's why it's called a mystery. We really don't know what the ending will be until we get there. And I let the characters tell the story instead of me telling it.
No, I think that's a very unique way to do it. We talk to a lot of authors who generally start with the ending, and when it comes to mysteries or you know, murder mysteries or just thrillers in general, and then they work backwards. So for you to do it that other way around, I think that's quite unique. And as you say, you know, you get a bit of a surprise with the ending as well as the readers will.
Yeah, sometimes way too surprised.
Well, I have a question spinning off that. I've just on your website now, having a look at all the different books that you've written. What would you say would be your favorite?
Murder in the Chafalaya is probably my favorite. I really enjoy that because I grew up hunting and fishing in the Atchafalaya Basin.
Yeah.
And that's that swamp that we mentioned before.
Yeah, it was.
And I really enjoy the scenery. I enjoy the lush surroundings. I enjoy the ecosystem there. And I think we had a little fun with the characters playing off of each other. It's about a young lady that's never been in South Louisiana. She grew up in West Texas. She gets lost in the swamp and gets rescued, and the two go on a crime fighting spree against a counterfeiting ring. And it's a lot of intrigue. The ending I didn't see it coming. It turned out great.
Oh wow! So a lot of your books, are they set around the Louisiana area?
I have 3 different series. One is set around Baton Rouge, which is state capital, and I live right outside of Baton Rouge. One series, which the Chafalaya is, it's set in Morgan City, which is right down on the Marsh coast.
Yep.
The third series, the Evergreen series, is set in southern Mississippi, where I lived for a few years.
Okay, excellent. Because it's always good to write what you know, and I suppose, that's why we get a lot of writers who actually, will write about their hometown, and it will make the settings in their home state or somewhere around there, because I feel like you can get more of a sense of the writer as well, because you're writing about what you know.
Yeah, there's a lot of unique customs and rites in South Louisiana. We have the crawfish and the boudin and the pastelaya and jambalaya. And we have a culture that enjoys today and doesn't worry a whole lot about tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And I think that comes through in the books. Most of my books mention food somewhere in them. And it's food unique to our culture down here, and we really enjoy it. I know y'all call crawfish by a different name over there down under. I watched a few shows there, people out in the outback, mm-hmm. and they would catch them and they called them a different name, but it's still crawfish.
Yeah. No, I've watched a lot of I like a lot of American history shows, and one of my favorite comedians, Billy Connolly. Are you familiar with Billy Connolly?
No, I'm not.
So he's a Scottish comedian. He did shows where he drove Route 66 and did a lot of time in the southern states, and some of the food and the stuff you guys have got down there, just makes me want to buy a plane ticket,
It would be well worth it.
Oh, 100%.
We know how to fix our cuisine in South Louisiana.
I guarantee if I came down there, I'd probably come back a lot heavier than what I am now. So
I would guarantee that also.
It's probably a bad thing. That's not necessarily.
That's why I have 2 bad knees. I've enjoyed too much of the cuisine.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Okay, so as I said, I was checking out your website this morning. So obviously, murder mysteries is your thing. Yeah. So how I mean, again, going back to the 50 books, how do you come up with all of your ideas, and keep it so fresh?
Again, it seems like every time I start with the characters, they go a different direction. Okay, yeah. And I let them kind of take it where they want to let it go. Yeah. And it surprises me sometimes, and sometimes I bring in a new character that adds a little spice to the situation, and that always helps, because I never know what the new character is going to say or do, and it just makes it a lot of fun.
So when you're talking about, how you say, you don't know what's going to happen. So do you just find, okay, you said you've got the opening scene.
Yes.
And you bring new characters in. So you say, for example, you've got a character here. Okay, I'm going to make this character the protagonist of the book. And then you just let that character sort of take over you.
Yes, I do. And I imagine how that character would act. I kind of base my characters on people I know. Mm-hmm. And so I would kind of try to guess how they would act in that situation. And sometimes they take the story a whole different direction than where I thought it was going. But that's okay. That's what makes it a good story, because it's natural. There's a natural flow because the characters are doing what comes naturally to them. 100%.
I agree. And as I said, that gives you a better sense. That gives the reader a better sense of you, a better sense of your characters, because of the way it's written. So I'm looking forward to it.
So. And I enjoy writing that way. If I had to follow, I tried following the outline on one book, and I made it through the 2 paragraphs. That's about as far as I got.
You got to do it the way that it works for you, and clearly it's working that way because of the amount of books you've written. So, keep that up. I'm actually going to grab a couple of your books after we talk. So I'm going to,
awesome.
Looking forward to jumping into that. I try and do that when we speak to an author. I try and grab a couple of their books. And I love reading. I read pretty much 24. I would read 24/7 if I could.
I'm with you. I love and I love the murder mystery authors, you know, and John Sanford and Badusi and those kind of guys. They're just amazing. I love their stories, and I love what they do.
Excellent. No, perfect. Well, I'll definitely let you know how I go after I read a couple of your books.
Okay, I would suggest Murder in the Chapalaya and Murder on Spirit Island.
Excellent.
That's the first two in 2 different series, and you can get a feel for the characters. In Spirit Island, I introduced a phenomenon down here called the Rougarou, which is similar to a Yeti or a Bigfoot. And that's a local myth down here that a lot of people believe in.
Yeah.
Probably 20% of South Louisiana Cajuns believe in Rougarous.
Excellent. Well, I'm going to let Jamie take the next question while I go.
Just on that, our version down under is we have Yowies.
Yowies, okay.
and apparently the myth is that they can twist their feet back the other way, so trick people, like so people think they're going that way, but they're actually going that way. They've just turned their feet around.
But I always say, how can you be scared of something called a Yowie?
No, because Ryan, the reason you say that is because in the early 90s they turned it into a chocolate children's treat.
I remember that.
Well, Rougarous aren't that talented, but they can inhabit a human body for up to 30 days. So that makes them a little bit interesting.
just a bit. Yeah. So are you going to retire at 60 books, or are you going to do another 60 books?
I already have ideas for at least another 60.
Excellent.
You know, if I could get to 500 before I pass on, I would love to.
Excellent. No, I'm literally just buying those 2 books that you recommended on Amazon right now.
Live shopping.
Because I always look for something to read, and that's I feel like I'm cheating people when we're doing this podcast, because it's just really me looking for more books to read and make conversations with the people who wrote them. So,
how long have you been doing the podcast?
I think we've been doing the authors' interviews for probably about a year. Jamie, do you reckon? Or?
No, because this is number 15 or 16. So we've been doing author interviews for about 4 months.
Yeah.
Oh, it's got to be super interesting.
100%. Yeah. I've learned so much. I've got so many good books to read, and met so many interesting and amazing people. So it's been absolutely fantastic.
Oh, I can see that.
100%.
We haven't had one bad interview yet. No. Like it's just been like a track record, because it's like I'm just.
So this is the first, huh?
No. This is my favorite so far. So, do you have any writing advice for any writers out there, seeing you've written so much?
Whatever you decide to do it. Do something to achieve your goals every single day of the year. It may not be much, but do something to get to your goal, and don't let anything get in your way. If I can write during the chaos I was in, there's no excuse for a writer not to sit down and start jotting a few words on a piece of paper or in Word or whatever text they want to use. But just get after it.
No, I agree. I honestly, we have so many people who say, look, don't say that you're going to start writing and then, take 20 years to write the book, because then you're not writing. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, you've got to stick to it, and it's not going to be easy. You know what I mean? Like like anything worth doing, it's not going to be easy.
Absolutely. If it was easy, there would be a cajillion of us.
Exactly.
But I believe it's worth it when you see that book come out and get released and people tell you they really enjoyed it. I had one friend, or have a friend, he told me every book he reads puts him to sleep. And he read one of mine, and he said he read it to the end. It hurt his eyes, but he read it. And that made me feel so good.
Yeah. Well, that should be a blurb on the back of the book. The only book that didn't put my friend to sleep. I think you do well. No, that's awesome. So, Jim, okay, before we let you go, what I want you to do is tell all of our listeners where we can find your social media websites, where they can buy your books, so that we can obviously link to it and make sure we get a lot of people buying these books.
Yeah, any outlet that sells the ebooks, whether it be Apple or Amazon or Goodreads or any of those, you can find my books. You can find them in a lot of the bookstore shelves. My publisher just opened distribution network in India and in China.
Oh, wow.
And they'll start being available there. Or they can always go to my website, jimriley.net, and they can link to those books there.
Yeah, your website has all the links. I was just on it then to buy those books. It's got all the links. Takes you to Amazon. You can obviously, look, if you like what Jim's doing, there's no shortage of it. So I think by the time you read all 60, you've probably written another 60.
There you go. I'm looking forward to it. And when I hit the next 60 mark, I'll give you guys a call.
Oh, definitely. Come straight back on here. We'll promote the next 60.
There you go.
But no, excellent. Look, as I said, I'm just about to get stuck into them today. Absolutely loving the sounds of the books. So I'll make sure that I'm on Goodreads as well. So I always rate and review the books that I read. So I'll make sure, because I know that helps you guys out in terms of getting more eyes on the books. I'm looking forward to reading that and getting stuck into it.
Appreciate it, guys, and hope you guys get over that COVID down under.
Oh yeah,
Thank you.
When you've written your next 60 books, we'll still be going through the COVID thing. We'll talk to you about that then. But thank you so much for taking the time to have a chat with us today. It's been lovely meeting you, and hopefully you get at least another 60 to 120 books out.
Really enjoyed the conversation. Thank you very much.
No
Thank
problem.
you.
Take care.